Welcome back to Curiosity, everybody. I hope you all are doing well. After that lengthy video on luck, I've decided to go for an intriguing argument called logical determinism. This might not be the most convincing of arguments out there against free will, but I find this very fascinating. The term logical determinism was introduced by Moritz Schlick, but the idea of logical determinism dates back to the Babylonian times. Logical determinism is the view that a statement or proposition about the future is either necessarily true or its negation is necessarily true, and that there is no middle ground or room for uncertainty. If the statement is true, then logical certainty necessitates that event. It says that from eternity, statements or propositions about the future have had fixed truth values, either true or false. Because propositions about the future are either true or false, even before the events occur, the events that those propositions refer to must happen necessarily. The law of excluded middle is a law of logic, a principle that every statement of the form P or not P is necessarily true. P or not P exhausts all of logical space. Now, it's the principle of bivalence that states that every statement has exactly one truth value, either true or false. And because PB applies to every statement ever, it also applies to statements about what will occur in the future. So for any pair of contradictory statements about the future, such as there will be a sea battle tomorrow and there won't be a sea battle tomorrow, exactly one of them is true and has been true from eternity, and by the law of non-contradiction, it can't not be true. So for example, if it is true today that tomorrow there will be a sea battle, then it cannot fail to be a sea battle tomorrow, since otherwise it would not be true today that such a battle will take place tomorrow. But if it is true from eternity that an event will occur, then that event is necessary. Now, logical determinism claims that every statement about the future is truth-apt. A truth-apt statement is a statement which is either true or false. Every statement about the future is either necessarily true or necessarily false, just like every statement about the past is either necessarily true or necessarily false. So if I say yesterday I ate sprouts, that statement is either true or false, and as it happens, it's actually true. However, if I make a statement about the future that happens to be true, that means there's a logical certainty that that is how the future will happen, and it is therefore determined. It is not important how probable the two alternatives are. It is not important how epistemically justified one is in making that statement. It is not important that a conscious entity necessarily utters that statement. It is not important whether such people actually make such predictions. What matters is that if a statement in the past about the future is true, then that event that that statement refers to will necessarily happen. Logical necessity makes sure that there is no other possibility. So let's formulate a logical argument for logical determinism. Let P be the future tense proposition, she will cheat you tomorrow. Obviously, let P naught be the future tense proposition, she will not cheat you tomorrow. P1. P or P naught is true by the principle of bivalence. P2. Since P or P naught is true, either the statement P or the statement P naught is certainly true by excluded middle. P3. If P naught is true, P naught can't not be true by non-contradiction. P4. If P naught is true today, she will not cheat you tomorrow. The future is logically determined. P5. She has no ability to do otherwise. From P4. P6. Free will requires the ability to do otherwise. Conclusion. She does not have free will. Now, logical determinism was thought of even as far back as Aristotle's times. Aristotle uses the example of the sea battle. Imagine a sea battle. A ship full of soldiers sailing around the ocean looking for the enemy. After many days of sailing, the soldiers discuss whether there will be a sea battle tomorrow. The laws of excluded middle, every statement is either true or false, and of non-contradiction, no statement is both true and false, combined, require that one of the statements, there will be a sea battle tomorrow and there won't be a sea battle tomorrow, is true and the other is false. One of the soldiers says there will not be a sea battle tomorrow. Now that statement is either true or false. Either there will be a sea battle tomorrow or there won't be. Let's now say that the sea battle did not take place, just like the soldier predicted. Does this mean that what the soldier said was true? Forget epistemology and whether it's a justified true belief. It's not about the person, it's about the statement. Was the soldier's statement itself true? Yes. He said there was not going to be a sea battle tomorrow, and the sea battle didn't happen the next day. But this statement was made in the past, so it was necessarily true yesterday that there was not going to be a sea battle. It was true when the soldier said it. It would have been true if he said it 10 years ago. It would have been true if he said it 100 years ago. A battle was not going to be fought on that day. So if past statements about the future can be necessarily true, then it means that state of affairs is determined to happen in one specific way. Let's see what objections there could be against logical determinism. One might argue that propositions are not true in advance of the events described. Propositions become true only when the events described occur. Objections to Proposal 1. When did it become true that George W. Bush won the 2001 election? When the votes were counted? When it was clear that he would win? When the deciding vote was cast? When did Germany lose World War II? When the Allies' invasion force landed on the beaches of Normandy? When the British invented and were able to use radar against the German Luftwaffe? When Alan Turing and his team broke the German secret code? When exactly? Is it not true now that tomorrow copper will conduct electricity? It will prove problematic in the extreme to try to put precise times on the occurrence of a proposition's becoming true. It is difficult to assign a particular instant when the truth value of a contingent statement changes. Statements in the past are not meaningless statements. If they were, they would violate the law of excluded middle. Meaningless statements cannot somehow turn into truth-apt statements. A statement is either meaningless or it is truth-apt. It can be one or the other, but it can't be one and then become the other. We can't get from meaningless to truth-apt. That's contradictory. Moreover, propositions are supposed to be abstract entities, entities which do not exist in space and time. Then how could a statement or proposition change at a particular time? Proposal 2. Disjuncts. Statements of the form P or Q, that is, in this case, the sea battle occurs or the sea battle does not occur, are true, but not the individual disjuncts, the components of that statement. That is, the sea battle occurs, comma, the sea battle does not occur. A disjunction is true just because at least one of its disjuncts is true. If neither P nor Q is true, how could P or Q be true? And just as in the previous case, this proposal 2 entails abandoning the law of excluded middle. But would you bite that bullet? I think truth is omnitemporal. If you have the truth conditions for a present tense proposition, say I'm sitting in this chair now, whatever those truth conditions are, those are the truth conditions for the corresponding past and future tense propositions as well. So given that I'm sitting in this chair now, it renders the present tense proposition I'm sitting in this chair now true, but it also means that the future tense proposition someone might have uttered 5 minutes ago, that curiosity will be sitting in this chair, true. The very same truth conditions render the past tense proposition someone will utter 5 minutes from now, that curiosity was sitting in this chair, true as well. Interestingly, Aristotle and Epicurus argue that if the principle of bivalence applied to all statements, everything would be necessary. And so they reject it, saying that statements like Philoctetus will be wounded are neither true nor false before Philoctetus is actually wounded or not. In order to avoid fatalism, Epicurus posits an indeterministic atomic motion, famously known as the Epicurean swerve. Now, we have already gone through many arguments related to indeterminism and how it doesn't give us free will. One of them is this. Go check it out. But according to the Stoics, nothing happens without a cause. The world is subordinated by necessity and fate. That natural force is also called by them as destiny, cause, reason, etc. The Stoics think that every event is both causally determined and fated. No acts are free because before they were performed, it was already true that they would be performed. The fact is out there in the future, waiting to happen, one way or the other, like a statue waiting for the unveiling ceremony. The immutability of the past is the reason the Stoic Chrysippus gives that if the past is necessary, it might seem to follow that I cannot now do anything to change the past truths of statements about the future. Aristotle thinks that the present is also necessary, saying what is necessarily is when it is, and what is not necessarily is not when it is not. The kind of truth that applies to a statement about the past after an event happens is called accidentally necessary, or is said to example necessity per accidens. Let's take the statement Katie will wash her car at time t as P and Katie is washing her car as Q. A. If P is true at t, then the proposition that P was the case is necessary per accidens at every moment after t, and the proposition that P was never the case is impossible per accidens at every moment after t. B. If P entails Q and P is necessary per accidens at t, then no one has the power at or after t to bring it about that Q is or will be false. Another version of the argument for logical determinism then runs as follows. P1. The proposition Katie will wash her car at t is true now at time long before t. P2. So the proposition Katie will wash her car at t will be necessary per accidens at every future moment, including every moment subsequent to now, that precedes or is identical with t. P3. The truth of the proposition Katie will wash her car at t entails that if the time is t, then Katie is washing her car. P4. Therefore, no one, including Katie, will have the power at or before t to bring it about that it is or will be false, that if t is present, then Katie is washing her car. That is, no one will have the power at or before t to bring it about that it is or will be true that Katie is not washing her car when t is present. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and found it interesting. I really want to know what your thoughts and objections are against logical determinism. Let's discuss that in the comments below. I'll be back with another argument soon. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, share, and hit the bell icon. Stay tuned and stay